Somebody has to know something. And I won't say that he's gone until they tell me he's gone.
That was the mother of James Allen White, who actually goes by Allen White. He's been missing for, it's going to be 6 months next week. There was a lot of press initially around this case, and everything seems to have tapered off. In a strange move, I believe this case has also been moved to a cold case unit already. It just seems kind of early for that. We don't typically see that happen on missing persons cases. There's a lot to get into with the details here. We've got some video to review as well, so it's time. Let's turn on the searchlight for Allen White. Welcome to another episode of BrainScratch Searchlight. I'm John Lorden. Thank you so much for caring about these cases like I do. We need to head to Texas for today's case, and in particular, we're looking at the Dallas area. According to Wikipedia, Dallas is a city in the U.S. state of Texas and the largest city in and the seat of Dallas County. With an estimated 2019 population of over 1.3 million people, it's the 9th most populous city in the United States and the 3rd largest in Texas, coming in behind Houston and San Antonio. We'll be coming back to this map in a little bit. We've got several locations to try to weave together as we look through the story of Allen White, and I'm just going to refer to him as Allen from here on forward, but please know that his first name is actually James. Let's start over at NamUs with the basic information. Date of last contact, October 22nd, 2020, obviously missing from Dallas, Texas, 55 years of age. We've got his height listed here at 5 feet 11 inches tall. He weighs about 160 pounds, white Caucasian. For the circumstances, they're also noting his first name is James, but he usually goes by Allen. Was last talked to before leaving for the gym on his usual routine. They're saying around 4:20 here. Other reports that I'm seeing from his husband, they're putting that time frame more at 4:45. It's confirmed that he went to an LA Fitness located at Haskell Avenue and clocked in there at 5 a.m., but was not heard from after that. Phone was at first ringing with no one picking it up. Finally, it started going straight to voicemail after a couple of hours. For hair color, they've got gray or partially gray, very short and clean cut, blue eyes, no facial hair. And here we really don't have any physical features in the description and no clothing or accessories. As we start getting into the news stories and the information, we are going to find some clothing information in particular. But they're also noting here for transportation a 2020 Porsche. They're saying that it's got a Texas plate of 8F4972. They're noting here that it's a rented black Porsche Macan with license plate number 8F4972. Let me just cut to the chase. The vehicle has been found, but I do want to still get that information out because there's possibly someone that had a sighting of that vehicle. Maybe some part of that information is going to help kind of register that memory or bring that back up for them. So learning just a little bit about Allen here. According to his LinkedIn profile, he was a managing director in the CIO advisory practice of KPMG in Dallas, and they focus on cloud transformation services, or he did in particular. He has worked at KPMG since February of 2020. So, only working in that job for approximately 8 months at the time of this disappearance. They note he is married, previously worked at Grant Thornton, IBM, and PwC. And IBM, he actually had a pretty long tenure there. I think over a decade he worked at IBM. But let's go ahead and continue just learning a little bit more about where he was working. KPMG firms operate in 146 countries and territories across the globe. They offer audit, tax, and advisory services. So Understanding his background, I believe he's working in some advisory capacity about getting businesses to roll into cloud services or cloud architectures. Okay, so time to figure out what's going on with this disappearance. Over at WFAA.com, October 26th, 2020. A video camera captured Alan White leaving an LA Fitness on Haskell in Dallas at 5:38 a.m. He had gone there to work out. So just to kind of put this time frame together, we know his husband says that he last saw him somewhere around 4:45 or so. I believe the LA Fitness is only about 10 or 15 minutes away from where he lived. A lot of people are getting kind of hung up on the fact that he was at the LA Fitness for 30 or 40 minutes. A lot of people are saying that's not long enough for a workout. I don't think that's actually accurate. You know, if it could be that if he's going in just to do some reps, maybe he breaks up his workouts into, you know, arms day, legs day, different things like that. I think it's perfectly reasonable for someone to go to the gym and only be there for 30 or 40 minutes, particularly if they're not taking a shower there, which I'm not positive that he did. We're going to find some traces and video capture of him, and it looks to me like he's still wearing his gym clothes. He may be changing his shirt. I think he might have changed his shirt when he got into the vehicle, but I think he was just planning on just driving home and then showering there. Friends say that it's the last time anyone saw or heard from him at the LA Fitness in particular. Quote, and he was expected on a work call at 7 or 7:30 Thursday morning. So when he did not show up for that, everybody instantly assumed that something had gone wrong. And this is according to a friend named Matt Davies. Of course, we have a family jump to action very quick here. They're once again noting White is married and an executive for the accounting company KPMG. Alan's brother, Tim White, flew in from West Virginia. Here's a quote from Tim. It's just like he vanished into thin air. I feel that he is here. I feel that he's somewhere around here. I feel that someone has him. It's not like him to up and vanish, Tim said. I need my brother. He's the last brother I have left. Moving on to dfw.cbslocal.com. Another quote from Tim. Alan is very loving, kind, generous person. The short distance between the gym and home, how he could just disappear, that's the hardest part. And believe it or not, we're going to find out it's even tougher than that, because we do get a sighting of him that's actually much closer to his home and a much shorter gap between where he's seen and his home. He was driving a black Porsche SUV, a car on loan from a dealership. So just to clear that up, I know NamUs said it was a rental car. He was getting his car serviced, and they gave him a loaner car. So effectively, this is a loaner car from the dealership. Once again, that tag was 8F4972. They're noting here that there's no sign of his credit cards being used since his disappearance. Seems like his cell phone has died. Some of the information I'm reviewing is saying he was very good about charging his phone overnight. And of course, if we're talking about him going missing in the early morning, like we are with this case, if that quote that we read, that the cell phone starts rolling into his voicemail within a few hours, is accurate, there's a very good chance that the battery just didn't run out. There's a chance that something happened to the cell phone. Someone turned it off, took out the battery, took out the SIM card, something of that nature. And we're going to find some more information around that as we roll forward. Another final quote from his brother here, Tim. I don't know if someone did take the vehicle and did something with him. That's the mystifying thing. Or did he wreck somewhere or drive off into a ravine or whatever, said Tim. Continuing at NBC5. New surveillance video shows the last time a Dallas man was seen before he vanished a week ago. So I'm just going to run a little bit of this. It's not the best. You can see it's running on a cell phone, but this is his car at the LA Fitness, him getting into it, and then pulling out. And we know from looking into cases like this, of course, cell phone information, a major component for missing persons cases, but cameras, especially in areas like this, knowing that he went to a business, that business has camera outside. We now have a starting point for putting together a chain trying to follow where he went from here. Other cameras are going to come into play with that as well as we continue. In this article, his brother also notes that he was actually being interviewed sitting at his brother's desk. Tim was sitting at Alan's desk, and he's like, I'm sitting here. There's a list on his desk of to-do items for this day in particular. He also notes in this article that Alan and his husband had purchased tickets for a flight to visit White's mother next month. Apparently that was for a birthday for her as well. A lot of events. He also had some family that was visiting around this, and he had plans with them for the following day as well. Just, a bunch of information pointing to him having a lot to do, seemingly doing something that was a part of his normal routine, going to the gym, not coming home for some reason. Over at Dallas Voice, we'll learn a little bit more about that morning. White and his husband, Rusty Jenkins, both left their home at around 4:45 a.m. Thursday, driving separate cars and going to separate gyms. I could tell you this is another point of contention for a lot of people that look into this case. They think it's strange. Why are these husbands going to separate gyms? There's a lot of logical reasons for that. Sometimes gyms are offered as part of an employment package for where you work, or you get a certain discount for, going to a specific gym through where you work. Sometimes it's related to your medical coverage. Sometimes it's related to the services that gym offers. Some people like to use a particular type of court that is maybe only at one gym and it's not in another. So personally, I don't think it's very strange that we would have, two husbands going to separate gyms. White was last seen checking into the LA Fitness. It appears he did not return after leaving the gym. And once again, just more information on the car, but here we find out that it was a loaner car from Park Place Motors. Just a little bit of an interesting point. Just keep that in your mind, because we're going to touch on that again. A family friend said the dealership has not been able to trace the car. I was pretty surprised about that with a car of this level. I looked a little bit into Porsches in particular for being known for thefts. What I'm seeing, the trend is actually more for like classic Porsches to be targets for theft. Modern ones, not as much because of all the technology that's built into them, all the easy tracking that's kind of built into them. So I'm a little surprised at the fact. I know that dealerships, especially for like what they would consider like fleet cars or loaners like this, might opt out of some of those services. But I'm just really surprised that there isn't some mechanism they could say, hey, you know what, that car does have some type of GPS system. Just flick that on so that we can find out where this car is. But according to a friend, they weren't able to trace the car using that mechanism. Jenkins filed a missing persons report around 11 a.m. So his husband, the story his husband tells, and he has done a few interviews, is basically he knows very quickly that something's wrong because Alan, I think the assumption I'm making is that this guy pretty much runs like a clock. He has a very set pattern. And within him not being home, 15 minutes after he should have been, Rusty knows that something's wrong. So within a matter of hours, look, by 11 a.m., a missing persons report is filed. I personally look at that as a good thing, because the faster we get the investigation started, the closer we are to chasing that trail that we're looking for. Some people in discussion threads and things, they're looking at that as a little odd that the missing persons report was opened too soon. And I know we're talking about a case where there's some potential. We know he was heading home, and reportedly he doesn't show up there. And then we have his husband go looking for him, doesn't find him, opens up the missing persons report. We have to consider the possibility that, did he actually make it home? Was there some type of dispute at home? We're going to find information that I think pretty much puts that to rest as much as we reasonably can with information that is public like this. But outside of that, just knowing the statistics around crimes of this nature, any investigation into a missing persons case like this, they're going to thoroughly look at that significant other. They're going to go through, hey, can we check on, did you show up to the gym? Can we verify that you were actually there? And more than just oh yeah, his card definitely got registered. Like they'd probably want to see some footage to make sure that he was there. Rusty is very clear about all the things that he did to try to find Alan, so they could probably easily verify those as well. You know, Rusty says he called hospitals, he was driving around, all that stuff, pretty easy to trace, pretty easy to verify. So I'm not seeing anything from the information that's been publicly released that is making it look like Rusty is being investigated further or anything of that nature. But let's continue. Missing man's SUV found, but still no sign of Alan White, and that is on October 30th. Dallas police say that the Porsche has now been located and they have it impounded, but they're not saying where it was found or who found it. At least initially they didn't say that. I did find some articles here at Dallas News. We get a pretty strong description. The car was found in Southeast Oak Cliff near Bonneview Road and Simpson Stewart Road, police spokeswoman Melinda Gutierrez said. She said at the time that there was a want to locate report for White on file. Such reports are filed when relatives want to get in touch with someone they have trouble contacting. That's kind of interesting. I don't know if that would be a different classification than a full-on missing persons report. That sounds a little bit almost softer to me than a proper missing persons report. I don't know. Things run so different from state to state here. It's almost an impossible task to try to keep up with all the different mechanisms around these types of cases. But let's continue here at WFAA.com. And we've got some more information from Tim. Finding the car was a big plus, a major plus. They were going to start processing once they had the proper paperwork to do it. So at least at this point, it sounds like they're handling it pretty seriously. And by processing, I have to assume that he means some type of forensic processing that's going on within the vehicle. We're grateful for all the help people have given, not only through the media here, but also social media to get us where we are, Tim said. I know that if he is out there, this push is going to help, and we are going to find him. We hope and pray we're going to find him. If someone has taken him or has done something with him physically and he's no longer around, we'll have to deal with that. But we just want to find him. We want to be part of helping this family find him. So if you do live or have friends in Texas, around the Dallas area, I'm telling you, for some reason, the media on this, very big through the start of this year, and then it just kind of weans off. And I'm not exactly sure what the mechanism for that is, why that is. As a matter of fact, there's some people questioning, why aren't there active searches going on? Like, now we know, the car's locations. Shouldn't there be searches going on around that? And it is a good question, but without knowing what's going on with the investigation, there might be a very simple answer for that. It could be that there's other trails of video that they have where they find the vehicle and they know he's not in the vehicle at that point. So where the vehicle is later found at the end of the chain probably has nothing to do with where he's actually located. It seems like there's some other logic that's going on underneath this case that just isn't coming out publicly. So I think that's what's going on with it, but that's just me speculating, to be honest. And we get another bit of video here, a sighting of him. Missing Dallas man seen getting gas the morning he disappeared, pumping gas at a racetrack on Inwood Road. And here they've got a little screenshot of it. We're going to watch the video here in a moment. But White's family, who shared the new video, said he left the gas station and drove north on Inwood toward his house. He has not been seen since. Here's a little bit of one of the video sources, and quite honestly, I don't think this is a great one, but I want to show it to you guys for one big reason. We get the time code in here. Now, please keep in mind, time codes can be wrong. Sometimes the video system hasn't been configured properly, and the time code can be off by a matter of minutes. But there's other information that kind of couples up with the fact that he's certainly at the gas station somewhere in this range of around 5:45 to 6 a.m. The latest that I'm hearing is 6:01. And I believe that's actually coming from, I don't know if it's a credit card use or something. The information's just a little too loose. But here we do have the time code showing 5:47. We see that he is gassing it up. I keep seeing it lagging out, and I've seen better footage. Unfortunately, it's not a very long clip, but I've seen better footage of this, and it's not like this on the original footage. So I don't know if it's something with the playback device, but there's some reason you see it just keeps stopping and kind of stuttering. But I just wanted to get to this point here. He opens the door. Seems like he's going to get in the car. He doesn't quite get in the car. The door closes. And there he's looking at his cell phone. And once again, this is a great shot in terms of what he's wearing. We've got a red tank top, dark workout shorts, and kind of lighter red shoes. And this video is very strange because it does this thing. And I'm telling you, this just has to do with the stuttering. But we don't really get to see him walk off here. It's just all of a sudden it freezes here with him looking at his phone. And then he's gone in the next frame. But I know there's other footage as well, because here on one of the missing persons posters, we have a clip of him walking in to the gas station, and his brother Tim, I've seen him interviewed as well, talks about the fact that he did gas up his car. He did also go inside the gas station. They don't think he bought anything. Seems like he was only in there for about 15 seconds. I don't know if that means he was paying for his gas, just looking for something that maybe he didn't find. But effectively, he walks in, he's in there for 15 seconds, he comes back out, then goes to the vehicle, and then leaves from there. Now, I know you guys are probably like, John, we need to see a map on this. Almost. We're just about there, but I wanted to show you the kind of better footage. You can see there's definitely much clearer footage on this out there. Let's go ahead and go back to the map, and we're going to just walk through these different locations to try to get some sense out of all this. So he lives in an area known as North Dallas, and it is just like it sounds, kind of the north area. From what I understand, that's a pretty nice area. That's where people that have some money generally live. South Dallas, not so much. And that's one of the things that's troubling about the location where his vehicle is found. We're actually going to get to see it here, but let's go ahead and get started. So the LA Fitness, 5:38 a.m. is when he leaves this LA Fitness. So from there, we know he goes to RaceTrac. This is approximately 4 miles away. And if we do trust the camera there, we know that he's there around 5:47. Now from here, we don't know necessarily what happens. I did see some reference to some social media. Unfortunately, it had been pulled. It was by a reporter that worked on this case. He just talked about the path that he left from. The general consensus is he leaves the racetrack heading in the direction of his home. What this social media was saying, at least the traces that I can find of it, is that there's a Church's fried chicken place that's around here. There's a parking lot. Let's go ahead and see if we can just find it real quick. I don't know exactly where it is from here. And I don't want to lean on this too much because for some reason that information was pulled, and I don't know if it was pulled because it was inaccurate or not. But all it was saying was he pulls into this other parking lot where there is a Church's fried chicken. It seems like he sits there for a little bit and then leaves. So I'm not sure what happens around that. But the car ultimately found approximately 15 miles away, 15 miles south. The original description that's given for where the car is Simpson Stewart Road and Bonneview Road in this area, but later found a video segment that showed the actual location, and that's at a street called Kitty and Permission, I believe. or persimmon, sorry. And this is the actual field where the SUV is found. And the way it's described, it's parked up kind of between these bushes here. Some descriptions I'm seeing are saying that it is found locked. And I'm also hearing the keys are actually inside of it. No damage done to it and no sign of anything, any fight happening in the car or signs of violence. Nothing like that is found with it. So just very strange when we're looking. It's in the complete opposite direction of where he would be going home. It's 15 miles away. It's in a neighborhood that some of the social information I'm reviewing is saying is generally just not a very good neighborhood, certainly a higher crime area down there. And that starts making you wonder about one of the possibilities. Is this a robbery? Is this a carjacking? We know that carjackings are up since the whole COVID pandemic. Is that what we're looking at here? I don't know how it can be when we have the vehicle left in that way, with the keys in it in that area. I'm really not sure. But let's go ahead with the articles. WFAA.com, an article from November 11th, 2020, and here's a picture of Alan and Rusty. Rusty Jenkins is White's partner of 18 years. And here we get Rusty's rundown on what happened for him that morning. When he wasn't home at 6:15, I thought it was odd. When he wasn't home at 6:30, I knew something was wrong. When he wasn't home by 6:45, I was panicking, Jenkins said. I got in the car at 7, drove the route back and forth, trying to find him, trying to find evidence of a wreck somewhere. I was calling the hospitals, trying to find out if there was an unidentified John Doe in any of the hospitals, because I didn't know if he had his ID with him or not. His husband continues, anyone who has seen anything, please come forward, no matter how little they think it is or insignificant. It may be a big piece of the puzzle to the police. At this time, the family was offering $15,000 for information leading to his whereabouts. I see that that gets increased to $20,000 from the family. And on top of that, Crime Stoppers also offers $5,000. So potentially $25,000 in reward offered for this case. Over at websleuths.com, which is working on its third thread for this case at this point, a lot of conversation there, a lot of great considerations there, but one message in particular that came from a verified family member. Hi, everyone. I want you all to know that Alan is the most kind and caring person, and there's no way he would ever willingly just up and disappear. He wasn't planning on stopping anywhere else. I just want to pause here for a moment, take you guys back to the map. One of the things that I was concerned about was the dealership, because his brother said in one of the interviews that this racetrack that he went to, the gas station, not necessarily on his direct way home and not a place that Alan was known to go to regularly. So I was wondering, is there anything around here that possibly could have given him a reason? And then I was thinking about, well, the loaner car. I mean, sometimes those can be treated almost like a rental, like you do have to fill them back up before you take them back in. Was it possible that he was going to pick up his vehicle, that his service might have been done? Now, at this time, I don't know if that dealership was open. That's something I can check real quick. But just to pull it up on the map, the dealership pretty close to this gas station. As a matter of fact, if I just eyeball it here, I would bet that there's not a whole lot of other service stations that are even that close. But I'm not hearing anything. Like, I would think his husband would know, oh, he was supposed to pick up the car that morning and he was planning on doing that, especially if he knew, well, he was planning on gassing the vehicle up, which we're going to hear on this Web Sleuths comment. So let's get back to that and just kind of process the rest of it. He wasn't planning on stopping anywhere else. I saw some suggest picking up pastries or something for us, but he had already asked us earlier in the week what we'd like for breakfast when he went shopping for the week. I have a feeling that this might have been the family members. I think it's his niece and his niece's fiance at the time. He was planning on taking them to look at wedding venues the following day. I have a feeling it's one of them that's leaving this comment, but once again, that's just speculation. Rusty knew Alan was going to stop for gas either before or after the gym. We don't know why he took that route home, but we think it may be because the gas station he would have gone to was robbed earlier that morning, and he wanted to avoid that road in case the police had it closed off. We haven't been able to get the phone records. All we know is his last data usage was at like 6:01 a.m., and last text he received was around 6:30 a.m. He would have charged his phone overnight, so we think the SIM card was taken out. I have seen a satellite view of where the car was found, but I don't remember the exact location. Thankfully, we were able to find that. It was in a secluded area, and it looked like someone was trying to hide it. The seats were also wet, and there was mud on the tires. It had rained really hard the day after he went missing. And one thing that I'm seeing on Web Sleuths, and I'm not sure of, we don't have enough information. I don't know if there was a sunroof on that car. Was the sunroof left open and that's how the seats got wet? But I do know the car is found approximately a week after he goes missing. So even if it got wet from the rain the following day, someone goes and drops it in that location, I don't know. Could it really stay wet inside that car through sunlight for 5 or 6 days? I'm not sure. And who knows? Who knows if the vehicle was sitting there that whole time or if it just wound up there, a day before or an hour before the police found it. We also know for a fact he didn't make it home. There are cameras on the front and back of the house, and his car never shows up. That seems like pretty clear information. And once again, this isn't just someone commenting. This is someone that has been verified by Web Sleuths as a family member. Once again, I believe this is probably the niece, possibly the niece's fiance that's sharing this information. Other details I can't give out right now. So this is where things, this case has a lot of media, a lot of things kind of pushing it along through the first month. And we do hear about that typically with missing persons case. First month always runs really hot with law enforcement's involvement, and then things kind of peter out. But then with this case, I don't know, there's more to it than just a petering out, at least from my perspective. Police upgrade search for missing Dallas executive to endangered missing person. So here we are almost a month later, and that finally happens. It's been a month since Rusty Jenkins last saw his husband. The last place they have tracked him is a RaceTrac gas station. It was hard to watch because it's a mile from the house. It's actually, from what I understand, I heard another quote, I think from Tim, 1.3 miles exactly from the RaceTrac gas station to their home. So something happened in that 1 mile. Something drastically happened in that 1 mile, Rusty said. About a week after White disappeared, Dallas police found the Porsche SUV he'd been driving in the area of Simpson Stewart and Bonnie View roads. His family said that they've been told it had no damage or signs of violence. Friday, citing recent developments, police upgraded the case from a want to locate to an endangered missing person. So that might be more of a clarification. I guess the want to locate is one type of classification for their missing persons report, and they've now bumped it up. What I'm curious about is, what is the recent development? Because that's really not coming through in the media that I'm seeing. It's a month after the fact that whatever this recent development is comes through. So it seems like something's been discovered. The car was found about 3 weeks before this, so that's not it. Quote, your mind goes through all these scenarios of what could have happened, but it's all just kind of guesses until we get some facts or some leads. But your mind plays games all day of what did happen, what could have happened, his husband said. Oh, it always breaks my heart seeing what these families go through in these situations. New York Post from November 24th. So, we're getting to the holidays now, plans that people had, and Alan is not part of those plans when he was originally supposed to be. White's brother said they had plans to visit their mother in Florida this week for her 83rd birthday. We should all be together right now, Tim told Dateline. Instead, we're just worried sick about where Alan could be. White said that his brother had no known enemies and likely had no reason to willingly disappear, particularly after starting a new job as a managing director at KPMG in February. White's niece was also visiting Dallas on the weekend of his disappearance, and the pair planned to look at wedding venues the day after he vanished. We're trying to hold out hope, Tim said, but it's been a month, 5 weeks on Thanksgiving Day, so it's really tough. We just want to know where he is. DallasVoice.com starts giving us some updates here, kind of brief, very to the point. Dallas PD Special Investigations takes over Alan White case. So this seems to me like there's some type of escalation that's going on. Just a week, a little, maybe 10 days before this, we have them change the classification on the missing persons report. Now they're handing it over to Special Investigations. Is it an escalation or is it a de-escalation? Because I don't know what their Special Investigations Division necessarily processes, but this article says they handle cases that have gone cold. So it's weird. It feels like almost like a start-stop. 10 days before this, we get, okay, he's now critically endangered missing person. And then within 2 weeks, we're going to hand that off to the cold case. And just doing a quick check here at DallasPolice.net, we can see this is for their Special Investigations Division. They handle police shootings. I don't think we have that in this case. They handle citizen fatalities or serious injuries while in police custody. Don't think that has to do with this case either. And then cold cases. So that seems to be the only classification that makes sense. I don't know that I've ever seen a missing persons investigation be handed off to a cold case unit so quickly, effectively within a month and a half of when that case is being opened. So it's making me wonder about what the conditions are around this case. There's other things that are going on within this case that we're not being made aware of very, very clearly. And once again, I just have to throw out there, police departments work in very, very different ways. Maybe there's some set of criteria where they're like, okay, we're a month out, we have no new leads on this. That automatically rolls it over to a new investigator from the cold case unit. I'm just not 100% sure. Just, I cover a fair number of cases that are from Texas. I don't recall seeing this mechanism happen before. Award increased on December 17th. So this is when the family basically kicks it up to a $20,000 reward for his whereabouts. And then we get this is the last piece of news that really kicks out on this case. January 15th, Dallas PD waiting for test results. They say they're waiting for test results to come back from SWIFS. That's the Southwestern Institute of Forensic Sciences in the Alan White case. LGBT police liaison officer Chelsea Geist said that they're also waiting on warrants. She said a separate warrant is required for Apple and then for each application on his cell phone. Quote, it's very difficult. It's a very difficult and time-consuming process, unfortunately, she said. And I saw some people that were not really understanding that very well in the conversation thread as well. We don't have his phone, obviously. We now, though, know that it is an Apple. So they're going to file a warrant to Apple to try to probably access his cloud data, any location information that they might have. But then each application on his cell phone, if was he sending a direct message on Facebook or on Twitter, or there's all these different possibilities. We know he's interacting with his phone pretty much the last time we see him in the footage. What was that interaction about? Was he talking to someone? Was he supposed to meet up with someone for some reason? Was it a work call? There's just all these different possibilities we don't know about. They have to investigate those possibilities. And without the physical item there that they could use their tools to get into and kind of review for themselves, they've got to do the backdoor approach, which is, it's a little bit of a spider web. I mean, think of all the different communication applications that you have on your phone. Think of someone having to reach out to each of those companies individually and also justify to a judge that this is worth doing, that we need to do this. It's going to be a little process. So that could be why we've hit this gap in terms of no real updates since then. I'm curious about the test results. What exactly were they testing? I think it's pretty obviously going to be from the car, but what from the car? Did they find some fingerprints that were in the car, touch DNA, things of that nature? I don't know. And here we are, several months later, no other real updates on this case at this point. And it just seems to be kind of slipping out of the public mindset. I just wanted to help kind kind of re-raise it. So once again, I'm asking if you have friends, family, anyone that you know in the Dallas area, please send them this video. Let's re-raise exposure and try to help Alan's family find Alan and or the truth of what happened to Alan. 6 months later, I'm pretty concerned about the outcome. I know they are too. Like I mentioned, 3 different Web Sleuths threads on this. I'm going to have those in the description box below. Also, a big thank you to Ed from Unfound. He did an Unfound Now episode on this case. I kind of used it as a Kickstarter in terms of looking into things. I appreciate Ed's coverage and his approach with looking into things like this. I think you will too. So please give Unfound a look if you get a chance. So the possibilities. What's going on with this case here? I'm concerned about the robbery potential because of how the vehicle was left. It doesn't seem to be a motivating factor. That's a pretty big and expensive item to leave behind if you are looking for a straight up robbery motivation. Also, the guy's in his gym clothes. How much cash is he gonna? Yeah, he'd probably have cash and cards on him. But we know the cards aren't being used. We're not seeing any real strong indicators here. Last week when we were talking about the Bradley Huey case, pretty obvious indicators that robbery is a factor in that. I mean, the guy's shoes were taken. Here, it's hard to know for sure, but the typical items that we would see for a robbery motivation don't seem to be at play. So I just have to consider some type of, could it be possibly hate crime of some kind? Maybe. Is he targeted because of his lifestyle? Possibly. Is this someone that followed him from one location to another, waiting for the right opportunity to do something? That's kind of along the lines that I'm feeling with a case of this nature. Of course, there are people that are talking about the possibility that he wanted to disappear and he went and left the car there, and there's, bus stops that are nearby that he could have taken from there. Who knows? I did also see some mention that there were some layoffs at the company that he was working at, but I also saw a comment put out by them about his disappearance. Seemed like they were being pretty empathetic about it. I haven't seen the company offer a reward, which isn't really a surefire thing for the cases we look into. Quite honestly, it's kind of rare. When they do, it's usually for someone that is a high-end exec, admittedly. So he kind of fits the criteria. It's a little surprising, maybe. Actually, in terms of the reward, I have seen it referred to as a private reward fund. And I've seen in some places, it seems like the assumption is it's coming from the family, but it's very possible that the company reached out and said, hey, we want to contribute something to that as well. So maybe that's one of the bumps in terms of how the reward increased over the period of time. But outside of that, I don't know. That's really where I have to hand it over to you guys. So let's have a conversation about that in the comments down below. As always, I ask that we please remain respectful to Alan, his family. Nothing's off the table in terms of what we can discuss, but we just got to keep that respect level up and make sure that we're being the great BrainScratch community that I know you guys are. And I really hope that some answers for this family come soon. 6 months is a long, long time to be dealing with feelings and fears like this. Just have to thank several supporters of the channel before we end today's video. Big thank you to new patron Ashley Brooks. Thank you, new patron Kenzie Vandershagen. And thank you, new patron Lexi. Also, a big thank you to Mika Burns and Anna Diaz for increasing your pledges. If you'd like to support the channel, please visit lordandarts.com, where you can sign up for Patreon, sign up for PayPal, buy merchandise, or even buy us a coffee. You can do that there now too. We really appreciate your support as we look into these cases and try to help these families in these terrible, terrible situations. I also just want to say thank you guys for your understanding this week in terms of me not putting out content on Wednesday. There's a lot of people hurting in Minnesota right now. There's a lot of people looking for justice in Minnesota in now 2 cases. And I really appreciate you guys giving some space to that. It's been a little hard to process. But I really thank you for all the support and nice comments. I truly, truly appreciate that. And I hope that some of you took me up on listening to those voices, because there's very important messages that are being put out around everything that's going on here right now. And I truly believe that we all need to be thinking about that and listening to those messages. So thank you guys so much. Have a nice weekend. Take care. Be safe. I'll see you back here on Monday with a brand new episode of Case Cracked on the Lord and Arch channel.